name's Nathan. For those who don't know me, I have been, Chris, how you doing? Oh, no, I'm trying to see. I've been asked to give my testimony about what God's been doing in my life, especially this weekend. So, it's a very long story, but I've been told I'd give 5 minutes. So, I kind of give a brief summary of kind of where I was and where I am now. So, a long time ago, or about 2 summers ago, I felt God was calling me to the ministry field. So, I was at Fort Caswell, and we were having a rocking time over at Fort Caswell, and God was just like, hey man, I want you to be a speaker like this dude. I was like, nah, don't think that's what you want me to do there, God. He was like, yeah, I do. And then, so, I wrestled with him for a while, and when I he finally convinced me that that was where he was leading me. And so, he told me he wanted me to do youth ministry. So, right then and there, that summer before I came to NC State, I kind of got a direction for my life of where God wanted me to go. So I was like, okay, well maybe I need to go to seminary. So I was like, I already paid a year at State, so I got to go to State. Then I can transfer, and then I can really do what God really wants me to do. Boy, was I wrong. I went through the first year, wanted to transfer, not really listening to what God wanted me, or what God was telling me. And so I was like, okay, God, you want me to stay at State? Give me a sign. I was like, make Amy tell me that she wants me a small group leader. And September, Amy goes, you applying for a small group leader next year? Well done. I was like, you can't be serious, God. And so I was like, okay, I'll do a small group leader. I'll get through another year, and then I'll go to seminary and finish my career out there. Wrong again. So I kind of had this thought that, for me to fulfill God's plan, I had to go to seminary. I had to, for my ministry that I wanted to do, I convinced myself that God was telling me I have to go to Southeastern. And so I guess I wrestled with this all this year. I've kind of wanted to go to seminary. I wanted to stay here. I've had signs. God has been blatantly obvious to me that God just wanted me to stay here, but I've continued to ignore him. And one of those many signs is Amy sat down and gave me a nice talk and invitation. And she just explained to me how she thought that basically, and this does not sound mean or anything, but she told me that I was making the wrong decision. And so I was like, nope. God already told me he wants me to go to seminary. So I continued ignoring signs. And then Lauren, I had to make a decision the last day of January. And so 2 weeks before that, Lauren calls me and says, out of the blue, and she says, make sure you're making the decisions for the right reason. Make sure you're leading. So I was like, okay, God, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't understand. And then the last day, January 31st, was whenever, I forgot his name. What was his name?
David.
David came up and talked, and he specifically said, you do not have to go to seminary to fulfill what God wants you to do here on campus. And yet I continue to ignore him. I continue to ignore God. I know shortcomings of me. But so now it leads up to this past weekend. So I was in the Connect track, and we had a lot of emphasis on prayer. And I was like, okay, I'm not really learning much. I've learned some stuff, but I wasn't truly into it. And then on the last day, last song, we're singing, and the word says, offer this heart, O God, completely to you. I was like, Nathan, what are you doing? I was like, you've had so many things. I'm so confused. God, help me. And so I just sat down, started crying. Jessica wanted me to come take a group picture so I could pose for the group picture. And I sat back down, started crying. And Lauren came over and helped talk me through what was going on. And she asked me, what do you want to do? And the immediate thing was, I said, I want to stay here. I feel like God has ultimately called me here, and I've been putting him off for too long. And it's just, I love this community, and he wants me here. So, Lauren kind of helped me talk through that, and we had some discussions. And now, after I've made this decision to stay, I kind of have new vision. I know that sounds weird, but like I have this vision set of what I think InterVarsity can be, and I think that's a lot of what we have to do with talking about the Connect track and praying, and eventually what God wants to do in this chapter. And so, hopefully, I see where God goes from here on, but I do know I'm staying. So, I guess the lesson is, and I can tell you more about this, even though I'm taking way too much time, but, anytime you have to make a big decision in life, just know you're not alone. You don't have to make a decision by yourself. God is there for a reason. He's there to help you out through these big decisions. And I just advise you to consult, because I didn't, and I was in a state of confusion for 2 years.